What's your well, you don't see that everyday story? I'm a radiologist. One day reporting, I pull up a court of a 30-something-year-old who had abdominal pain. Specifically, they had felt tension, then a distinct popping sensation with sharp pain, then a vague, but moderately severe ache that persisted. So I'm looking for the usual suspects in this sort of presentation: appendicitis, diverticulitis, maybe epiploic appendicitis or inflammatory bowel disease. Found a foreign body in small bowel, looked odd on single slices, so I reformatted the image set in 3D, found a bread clip. Interestingly, I found another one about 6 years later. My 2 cases constitute about 5% of all cases ever reported. An ambulance ran over a pedestrian while on the way to a medical emergency, so they picked up the pedestrian they just ran over and came back to the hospital. Fortunately, both emergencies turned out okay. I saw a dude absolutely bombing a hill on a skateboard, joint in hand, and a crossbow on his back. Not like a little one, like a medieval reenactment crossbow used for storming the gates of Helm's Deep. On vacation in London, my wife and I were waiting for a train in a tube station. 2 trains arrived at the station before ours showed up. As a native New Yorker, I was comforted to see that pigeons live in subway stations everywhere. The first train pulls into the station and the doors open. As people enter and exit the train, one pigeon flutters down from the ceiling, lands on the platform and calmly walks onto the train, like he's off to work or something. My wife and I laugh about this a little as the doors closed and the train pulls away from the station. The second train pulls into the station, the doors open, and people shuffle out. After a moment, a different pigeon walks out of this train and then flutters up to spot vacated by the first pigeon. Anyway, seems like London pigeons have the tube pretty much figured out. Today I was coming upstairs after eating quesadillas with my family and watching Frasier, and my 90-pound dog suddenly scrambles up the last 3 steps. I saw a flash of fur and I'm like, WTF, a rabbit in my house. I see there's a strange small dog in my house, then there's yelping, then there's another small dog. My big puppy chases the shit out of them in my living room as they dash for the door, yelping, with my dog tailing them down the fucking block. Yeah, turns out as I was cooking the quesadillas, I opened the back door a little to let my dog out to pee and forgot the door was open. These 2 little scoundrels must have been like, hey, it smells good in this house. Let's go inside. I helped a German guy at CVS jump his car, and to thank me, he gave me a fancy bottle of shampoo. Worked as a waiter, and after we finished one night, a drunk man was walking down the street. One of my coworkers recognized him and asked if he was the German opera singer doing a show in the city. He answered yes and asked if we would like to hear him sing. So he gave us a 3-minute private concert in the middle of the night, drunk of his ass. A big ass old ceramic tub flew off a flatbed truck and exploded into a million pieces on the interstate. While jogging slowly up a steep hill, I got cheered on by the driver of the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile. I was walking through my neighborhood with a couple friends one morning, and a couple women drive up to us and ask if we have seen their horse. We were confused and told them no sorry, and they drove away, but literally 30 seconds later a horse runs out of the woods about 10 feet in front of us and runs past us down the street. We were all awestruck. I was driving home one day, and as I entered my neighborhood, I saw a turkey in mid-flight, about 15 feet in the air, glide across the road and face first into the side of a house. It plopped down on the ground and just as quickly hightailed it around the corner and out of sight. A bride in her wedding gown running in the train station being chased by 2 women holding the train of her dress. I once saw a squirrel carrying an entire pomegranate around a cemetery. I once took the Channel from London to Paris, first time ever doing so, or even being in France for that matter. As I was walking through the station, a dude ran up to me and started quacking like a duck. I still wonder how that dude is doing 2 years later. Watched a guy on a quad drop his hat, look back and decide to leave it behind. About 2 minutes later, Some guy in a tan car drives up, swerves around it, stops, leans out of the car, picks up the hat, puts it on, and then just drives away like nothing happened. Neutering a dog the other day, he appeared to be a cryptorchid, that is, one normal testicle, and one not descended, retained somewhere in the abdomen. Well, we can still neuter these. In fact, it's even more important to do so, since the retained one can later develop cancer if left behind. So, into the abdomen I went, looking for that retained testicle, which I was expecting to find somewhere between the kidney and inguinal ring. Found a uterus. At around 3 AM, I saw a man rollerblading through the lobby of the Ritz-Carlton. I could not believe the hotel staff were just letting him get away with this, but no one even attempted to stop him. I ended up getting on the elevator behind him. The man was Jim Carrey. Was in the tribunal talking to a friend. The new prosecutor passes by us wearing shorts and flip-flops with a fully dressed for court upper body. "Morning, Your Honor," the bastard says, as if nothing is happening. In shock, I keep looking at him as he strolls across the lobby. Preface: I live in the meth valley of the Midwest, so this isn't surprising. I was in Walmart, and I saw this older woman, 65 years old, and she didn't have a shirt or a bra on. Instead, she took her very stretchy pants and lifted them up above her very saggy breasts, forming a sort of a jumper/romper, and just went on her way. That's not something I expected or wanted to see. When I was working nights on security, I saw two cats getting chased by a rat. I questioned life for a brief moment. Edit. Thank you to everybody who upvoted this and gifted awards. I've never seen my phone blow up so much. I worked at a high-functioning casino as a cocktail server a few years back. This lady came up to me and asked me if I wanted to see something cool. Me not knowing what to expect says sure, why not? This woman proceeds to pull a purple rag out of her bra and begin to unfold it. I start to hear little chirps coming from the rag. This woman pulled a baby chicken out of her bra in the middle of a casino and let me pet it. She then folded the rag back up, stuffed the baby chicken back in her bra, and told me not to tell anyone. I told everyone. A coyote pup came out of the arroyo and followed me and my dog around while we were walking. They didn't become friends or have any wondrous adventures or anything. When we saw a pickup truck pull a boat down a city street without a trailer. Lots of sparks, though. I still wonder about that. My wife and I were on the loop around Atlanta in bumper-to-bumper traffic. There was a Dodge Dually pulling a flatbed trailer in the lane next to us, and on the other side of him was an S10 Blazer, who apparently wanted to get in behind the truck. As soon as the truck was past the Blazer, he started to change lanes. But when he noticed the trailer, he swerved back into his own lane, but he overcorrected. He got that Blazer up on two wheels like in a stunt show. I could see the drive shaft spinning. He held it long enough for me to turn to my wife, tap her on the arm, and say, "Look at that." She saw it, he set it back down, and just kept driving. I was like, are we in a movie? I used to work next door to a mini golf course, and the window of our drive-thru looked out over the golf course. One day I'm working the drive-thru and look out the window to see 4 people golfing *IN full FURSUITS*. In the parking lot of a concert in the 80s, a guy with a big blonde fro stripped down and simulated intercourse with the windshield of his Chevelle. Then he dismounted and strutted around like a chicken. Then, more windshield coitus. Then, chicken, windshield, chicken, windshield, chicken, ambulance. Blind dude walking into an ambulance face first. Edit. The blind dude was crossing the street. He was hearing impaired as well, striped cane. The ambulance was stopped halfway through a left turn, blocking the pedestrian path. Blind deaf dude's cane went right under the ambulance and he went wham. Face first. It was audible. The dude in the ambulance's passenger seat watched the whole thing happen. His face contorted from disbelief to shock, fear, horror, a bit of laughter, concern, and finally relief. Manhattan, July of 2010. Me and some pals drove up from SEPA to see Maiden at MSG. Everything seemed cool when we drive away. Dude was laughing as a dozen smiling people helped him finish the crossing. Dude was around 30 years old and tall, 6-5+ tall. He had a beautiful McEnroe/Garfunkel hair puff. Fun times. Dream Theater opened. Looking out my 3rd story dorm room window and watching the contents of the 4th floor lounge fly past. I just shared the longer version of this story earlier today, but to summarize. A person getting arrested while wearing an inmate costume. I saw a wedding being held in a parking lot. Instead of rings they had gold spike bracelets and the bride had a yellow tramp stamp gleaming above her jean shorts. Our tiny kitten had stolen a slice of pepperoni pizza and was hissing and snarling and fighting off 2 adult dogs and an adult cat. Nobody was getting that slice of pizza from him. Some guy cut me off with a trailer on a road with a speed limit of 35. A few minutes later I happened to pull into the same gas station as him. I try my best not look at him. I don't want to start anything. I hear, "Hey." I make a beeline for the gas station door. Then I hear a whistle coming from the direction where he was, still trying to ignore him. I finally turn around when he comes jogging up to me. Rough looking fella says, "Sorry for cutting you off back there. I was low on gas. I drive for a living and come across a-holes daily, so this guy apologizing threw me off." I said no worries and thanked him for apologizing, and we went our separate way. TLDR, a-hole driver cuts me off and then apologizes to me in public.